Pastor Emily AIG-Imoukhuede was born on October 27, 1941 in Sabongida, Ora, now the headquarters of Owan West local government area of Edo State. Her parents were Chief and Mrs. Ihonde. Her father died when she was a toddler, and her mother, a young petty trader, had to raise her with her siblings. It was a fairly big family, and her mother worked hard to provide material comfort and love to the family. And because she loved education and appreciated the importance of quality education, she spared no expenses in training her children. It was in this beautiful setting, filled with discipline, peace and love, in which young Emily grew into a beautiful maiden. She shone like a star and grew up to be a bright shining light in her family, church and country. As a young girl, she had her early education in the community. For secondary education, she attended Anglican Girls' School, Sabongida in 1952, but due to her brilliance, she gained Western Nigeria government scholarship to study at St. Anne's School, Ibadan, an elite high school for girls in what was then a burgeoning capital of the Western region. She was at St. Anne's from 1954 to 1958, where she obtained her GCE in Division 1. With this, she enrolled in the Nigerian College of Science, Arts and Technology in 1959 and graduated in 1961, where she obtained her advanced level certificate. As soon as she left the college, she was admitted to the University of Ibadan in 1961, then known as University College, from where she graduated with a second-class upper degree in history in 1964, a considerable achievement at the time and even now. She grew up in a Western Nigeria that was brimming with active and sometimes incendiary politics, and it is no surprise that her worldview was shaped by what she experienced. Upon graduation from UI at the age of 23, Pastor Emily followed a broad and diverse career path spanning teaching, public service, private business, art collection and social enterprise. But it was in her days in the National Council of Women Societies, NCWS, that her leadership skills, organizational talents and capacity for social mobilization were fully appreciated. She started off in the classroom as a teacher, teaching at Aunty Girls Comprehensive High School, Lagos in 1964, and part-time lecturer in history at her alma mater, St. Anne's School, Ibadan in 1966. In 1967, she joined the civil service as the curator of the National Museum, Onikan, Lagos. At the museum, she introduced the use of the museum to Nigerian children. This initiative led to the establishment of the Directorate of Education in the Commission for Museums and Monuments. She served for 6 years till 1973, when she resigned to pursue her passion for the arts. This also allowed her enough time to take care of her young and growing family. She started by hosting arts exhibitions at her home in Lagos. These exhibitions were so successful that it attracted many arts aficionados, including some from the Lagos diplomatic and expatriate communities. Encouraged by the achievements of these exhibitions, Pastor Emily established an art gallery in Lagos, christened Gong Gallery, essentially for the promotion of Nigerian arts and artists. It was the nation's second art gallery, and it became an instant hit among Nigerians of diverse backgrounds who had just emerged from an internecine civil war in search for a new meaning for life. The fact that her husband was also carving out a name for himself as a culture specialist in the federal bureaucracy provided the needed complementarity to her efforts. Ever versatile, Mrs. AIG-Imoukhuede also worked as a freelance journalist for Sunday Times and Daily Times, contributing articles on arts and culture. She also scripted for Voice of Nigeria and NTA on women and children issues, in addition to hosting and producing many children's programs on TV. In 1976, the U.S. Embassy in Lagos acknowledged Pastor Emily's towering credentials in the arts and gave her a grant to visit the United States for the bicentennial celebrations that year. In addition to establishing a gallery, she also set up an art school and hired an Indian national as artist in residence. In terms of business ideas, Pastor Emily was always overflowing with many initiatives that complemented each other. To cater for the emerging middle class of the mid-70s, she established a business which offered packaged tours to schools and groups to foreign countries. It was an idea that was far ahead of its time. Travels and tours is now a booming subsector in the tourism area. She authored a storybook for children titled 7 Maidens and Other Stories, based on the stories her mother told her when she was a child. Little wonder the federal government soon took notice of this vivacious lady and appointed her director in many state-owned enterprises. One of Pastor Emily's most prominent national assignments was her election as the president of the National Council of Women's Societies in 1988. She served till 1993. She had risen through the ranks in the council, becoming Assistant Secretary in 1978 under the presidency of the unforgettable Mrs. Hilda Adefarasi. A federation of women's organizations that promotes the welfare and progress of Nigerian women, NCWS is the biggest and most influential non-partisan and non-political women group in the country. The very year Pastor Emily graduated from UI in 1964 was the year she got married to the husband of her youth, Mr. Frank Abiodun AIG-Imoukhuede. Both of them were not only from Sabongida, but were also at the same university. Mr. AIG-Imoukhuede had, however, graduated a few years earlier and had easily settled into employment in the Federal Civil Service. Mr. AIG-Imoukhuede had always known Emily Ihonde from her childhood. She was one of the 8 girls who used to go to the house of his aunt, late Mrs. Christiana Longe, for preparatory lessons for St. Anne's School in Ibadan. Together, Mr. and Mrs. AIG-Imoukhuede have 4 children and 17 grandchildren who are very successful in various walks of life. Pastor Emily was born an Anglican into a deeply religious and God-fearing family and was brought up in the fear of the Lord. But to deepen her knowledge of the Bible and the fundamental principles of Christianity, she enrolled in Word of Faith Bible Institute in January 1998. The class was christened Laughter 98 because the church had earlier declared that year the Year of Laughter. She was the class secretary, and according to one of the students, she related with us like a mother and even accommodated some of us. Mrs. Emily AIG-Imoukhuede was ordained pastor in December 1998 by Bishop David O. Abioye at the Garden Faith, Living Faith Church, Kaduna. Pastor Emily was particularly moved by the plight of prisoners and the inability of ex-convicts to fully reintegrate into the society after serving their time. She founded an NGO, the Dreamland Foundation for Economic Empowerment, to empower prison inmates and ex-inmates to live useful lives so as not to return to crime after serving their prison terms. This came to be after her engagements with many inmates through her correspondence Bible school, Believers Life in Christ Ministries. Through the outreach arm of the foundation, Believers Life in Christ Ministry, the foundation is present and has made impact in 31 states of the Federation. Pastor Emily AIG-Imoukhuede, née Ihonde, lived a fulfilled and accomplished life. Spiritually, she was a woman of faith, totally committed to serving God in various ways, including her many charitable initiatives. May the good Lord receive her in eternal rest and comfort her husband, children, and the rest of the family.